Back in the day, people used to worry about eating and surviving. People used to worry about putting food on the table and stuff like that. Nowadays, people worry about how am I going to be happy.
Oh, before the break, we were talking about, you said there's three things that were really helpful for you. One of them had to do with exposure therapy. And I wanted to kind of dive in a little bit more to sort of what that is so listeners sort of understand what that is. And if you can talk a little bit about how that was, how you used exposure therapy.
Yeah, for sure. Exposure therapy is kind of the idea that you slowly expose yourself to like your fears or different things that you're not super good at, I guess. And I guess what it does is you slowly get better and better at it, I guess, as you keep practicing or something.
Hmm.
And I found like for things like that, if you can't really just dive into it because it's too overwhelming, and then you end up getting more overwhelmed about it. So kind of doing a slow approach and thinking of small things. So like if you have like social anxiety, just like talking to someone on like a cash register or something, or like different things like
Hmm.
that, and or talking to someone on the phone, or just slowly exposing yourself tends to like helped me at least a lot. So um, yeah, I mean,
And really what that is, it really is sort of a rewiring of the brain because what happens for people who have anxiety based disorders is our brain sort of is sending these signals to us that there's an actual danger that we're approaching. So we can feel highly anxious, flooded with all kinds of stress hormones. And so what happens is we avoid those situations, and then our brain sort of learns that, oh, this must be important because you're responding to this and now I'm feeling better. So I'm going to keep sending you these signals, right? But except the problem is you're getting the same kind of signals that are helpful if you're like walking through the woods and suddenly you see a bear. Like those signals are helpful during those situations when you have to pick up the phone to make a call or you have to go to the store and you have to interact with people. Like those aren't helpful sort of signals to be getting. So the idea is it's a form of desensitization
yeah, for sure.
to whatever that the triggering sort of event is. And so a doing it with a therapist, you would sort of start with what I call the low hanging fruit, sort of the easier stuff, like not going right to like the top fear.
Yeah.
And it's a hard treatment approach. It's a hard therapy as a from on the client end because it's really hard work. It's you're intentionally exposing yourself to situations that are going to increase your anxiety
But
intentionally.
once you do it, it feels so good that you actually did it
Yeah,
and that,
yeah.
and you feel a lot better about it. Which actually, I don't know if this is related or not, but something I've noticed recently is when I try to get myself to do something like exercise or like workout or like go for a walk or something, I constantly have to remind myself how I feel after. So like
It's good.
when I'm like it's like, oh, I really don't want to like go for a walk right now, but I'm like every time I do though, it helps exactly what I'm not upset about right now.
Eric, that's such an important, and I want other listeners and viewers to really sort of take note of that because that's one of the things that I encourage so many of my clients to do, and I do myself. So
Yeah,
often when we put our those sort of reminders to ourselves, whether it's on our to do list or in our calendar, we put the what, but we need the why included in that what. So instead of just saying, "Okay, remember to
for
take a
sure.
walk," like add to whatever your reminder sort of system is, you know, take a walk. I feel so good afterwards, and I probably will not want to do it at the time. So, like, add all of that information to sort of that cue, so it's triggering more to that the emotional center of your brain, not just the sort of that cool, dry, the what center of the brain. Because it's like, wow, man, I walk. Why would I want to do that? Right, when the
Well,
cue
I
comes
want
up.
to add something to that too,
Yeah.
actually. I believe like as humans, we've developed to not want to use up calories of energy. And so when your mind's like, why would you go for a walk? That's completely pointless. There's no food at the end. There's no benefit really. So then if you can use your mind to tell itself that there actually is a benefit, that you'll feel better and it's going to help you like psychologically or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, yeah, you should go for a walk. That's totally worth the calories. because we live in such a convenient world now and everything's so much easier that we have all this food and everything's more plentiful that like it doesn't really make as much sense to have to worry about, oh, that's going to use up this much calorie of energy, that's better for hunting or something like that. Because anytime you really have to do something, there's not that, oh, maybe I shouldn't. There's like, yeah, I got to do it because there's a reason behind it. So
So
having that reason is really important.
so Eric, that makes it's a really interesting theory that makes a lot of sense. But I do have to ask you this: did you come
Okay.
up with that theory while you were high or on mushrooms?
No, no, I just like thought of it myself.
Just all right. So
Yeah,
exposure
yeah.
therapy. That was number one. Number two was that the number
Number
two?
two is self like introspection or whatever, being able to like evil journaling or something like that, and accepting the good and bad about yourself, and acknowledging things that you do that are really bad, like even to other people, like something
Yeah.
that's like, because not everyone's perfectly a saint. Like people have things they did that are really bad that they've done to other people or things they've done in their life, but accepting that and actually saying, you know what, I was a asshole there, or I was just a terrible person here or there. I did terrible things. And acknowledging that, I think, is a really good step in improvement.
What does that do for you? I agree with you completely. What
Yeah.
doing that, like, what is that? How has that helped you?
Well, it's helped me to kind of look at it as a bigger picture and kind of separate myself from like this like ego where you don't want to admit I did something wrong, or you don't want to admit that I was a bad person here or there, and actually looking at it or like putting it on paper and writing it down, and really just like figuring out, okay, what do I actually want? Because I'm not happy that I did that. I feel bad about I did that. So what can I do to make it so I don't end up doing that again, or I end up being a better person that I want to actually be?
Eric,
And
I think that is what you just described there is a wonderful sort of exercise and sort of approach for shame resiliency, or it's really
mhm,
focusing on like, yeah, I did that and I'm not proud of that, but you're focusing on the behavior versus the you as a person. You're not saying, well, what kind of person am I that did that? Like, that's not the type of person I want to be based on those actions. I don't like that I did that. And I so agree with the idea of sharing those kinds of things with others. It really is helpful. All right, so that's number
it's
two.
a good way to notice patterns and stuff too. Especially one thing in particular I noticed is if it was in with relationships, people tend to end up in the exact same relationship over and over and over and over again with the same person. It's
It's
because
amazing.
you're not dealing with the actual inner problem. You just keep on thinking, oh, I feel good when I'm in a relationship, makes me feel better. You're going to keep having the same problem over and over again because you're not dealing with the root cause. You attract the certain kind of person because you still have the same problems. What you should do in a relationship is take it as a learning opportunity to learn more about yourself, because they could tell you, hey, you're a dick when you do this, or you're doing this, or, you know, you don't like to get criticized or something, and take that as constructive criticism. And then your next relationships will be so much better from there.
Eric, that's some pretty insightful wisdom there for a young chap of your age. No,
Oh,
it's you're spot on there.
oh yeah, of course.
And humble at that too. Um,
Well, no, it's just I've just done a lot of introspection stuff and kind of I'm like really into philosophy and stuff like that, and you know I, I tend to philosophize about a lot of things like that, and that's something that I've noticed is that there's hidden things that you're not aware of that you do, and there's hidden things about your personality that aren't so good, and it's that self introspection, even other people telling you, either a close friend or something, because as a society we have this taboo of telling people straight up what's wrong. We don't want to be rude, we don't want to be mean, but it's really important to just tell someone that, like, the truth. If someone stinks, say, hey, you stink, you should probably wear some deodorant or something, instead of just like letting them stink and then they're like, why
like,
is
or everybody in the room is thinking it, but nobody is saying it.
yeah, exactly. It's so important to really start doing that, because that's the only way we can do self growth. Because the thing about feeling comfortable is that comfortability is like, it's like a garden that's like really beautiful, like it's just so nice to just be comfortable, but nothing grows there. Like you can't grow in just being comfortable and not doing anything. You have to feel uncomfortable. And the one thing also I read the book, The Simple Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I don't know if you heard of
I
it.
have, yes.
I love that book. It's a good book. But in that book, he talks about oh, I lost my train of thought. Wait.
Uh,
Okay, so basically, when you live life, you always are going to have problems no matter what. You can't get rid of problems. You're always going to have some problem. You're always going to have some negative thing happen, and that's what life is. But it's working towards solving the problems that makes life worth living and makes you happy. Because people are always looking for happiness, but it's what they're looking for is pleasure, not necessarily happiness. And they mix the two up. And you can't really just, oh, I'm going to go be happy. It's not something you can really do. It's a byproduct. And by just solving the like problems to get better problems that you prefer dealing with, I think is a huge part of like what I was talking about before with the introspection and stuff, and really being uncomfortable is what I think will actually make you happier in the end, is doing what you want, taking the risk. Because I think the one thing I don't want to happen in my life is I don't want to be on my deathbed and full of regrets. I would rather try something and completely fail than never try at all and always wonder what if.
Get the rest of this episode at erictivers.com/156 or subscribe to the podcast at my website, ADHDrewired.com, or on your preferred podcast app. And come learn about the ADHD Rewired coaching and accountability group. We help put good intentions into actions.